All right, back now with Bill Graham. You've been instrumental in Live Aid, Amnesty International, human rights now. That seems to be, as much as anything, the focus of what you're up to these days, trying to pull rock acts together to do some good.
It's just the utilization of power. It always gets down to that reality, that if they have the power to get that many people to buy tickets to go into that space to raise a lot of money or consciousness, that's very powerful. Let's try to utilize that.
There was an interesting one, I guess in the Bay Area, where they cut funding for high school athletic programs.
Yeah.
And not only did you get Dylan and Neil Young and some Jefferson Airplane, I guess, some of these people, but Willie Mays and Marlon Brando show up to be part of the mix.
Yeah, well, we wanted to get another example in front of the kids that their extracurricular activities should continue and that they were supported not just by the rock community. We had Jesse Owens, as you said, and Willie Mays and R.C. Owens and many of the greats.
Did Willie do Maybelline that night?
Don't try. He drank a lot of apple juice.
It's good for him.
But Brando was I remember when we introduced him, it reminded me right that second to the Hitlerian sound, the Nuremberg chanting, that level when you get 300,000 just because there was a pregnant pause, and all of a sudden there's a guy that beyond, he's up there, Brando. And he spoke to them about their youth and to listen to their parents and to think about the Indians and get an education. But when he came off, he was just taken by this response, and we went over and checked with him a number of times if he was okay, and he kept on just saying, okay, let me catch my breath, and his very watery eyes. And finally, 15 minutes later, I went over to him again and I said, is everything okay? And he just grabbed my arm and said, you know something, those weren't extras out there. And all of a sudden I realized that because of his profession, he never gets to experience what rock and roll stars feel all the time, this mass adulation. With him, it's those extras in Viva Zapata get paid $26 a day to get on the horse, to get off the horse, to laugh, to smile. You're paid to do that. Well, those people gave him something that he just doesn't experience. And he had never received that.
Yeah.
And in our industry, those stars get it all the time. You can imagine what that did to that man.
Sort of like
50,000 people.
Sort of like the Marilyn Monroe, Joe DiMaggio story, where she went to Korea and she came back and she said, after having worked on movies and great acclaim, but there she was in front of the troops, she said, Joe, you've never heard such cheering. He said, yes, I have.
That's right. That's right.
Do you think part of the reason why a guy like Neil Young, in addition to the quality of his music, is so popular now, is that a certain portion of the audience just wants to embrace something that isn't so slick, and it isn't so soulless, and it isn't so MTV, and isn't about fashion as distinct from style, and that's an important distinction. You know, a lot of guys have style, that's worth admiring. Fashion is crap. You know, it's depressing, the level of some of this stuff.
I agree. Neil also is a great musician, great songwriter. Another one, benefit guys. Anyway, he's involved with a school, therapeutic school, and every year he calls the musicians. We do the show at Shoreline, raises $200,000-300,000, and the school goes on. One guy picks up his axe, 300 grand every year.
We got 1,000 points in